"Daddy will be home for your birthday, sweetie." The voice came through my husband's phone speaker, crystal clear. I stood frozen in our bedroom doorway, watching Derek talk to a little girl I'd never seen before. She looked about 4 years old with his same dark curls. My hands went numb. Derek's laptop sat open on the dresser, and I could see the video call reflected in our bedroom mirror. A woman appeared behind the child, her hand resting protectively on the girl's shoulder. "Tell Daddy goodnight, Emma," she said softly. Emma. My husband had a daughter named Emma. We'd been married for 8 years, together for 10. I'd spent 3 of those years trying to get pregnant, going through treatments, crying every month when the tests came back negative. Meanwhile, Derek had another family, another daughter, another life. I stepped back into the hallway before Derek could see me. "My name is Natalie Wallace, and I'm 35 years old. I work as a pediatric nurse at Seattle Children's Hospital, a job I love because I get to care for the children I'd always dreamed of having myself." My heart pounded so hard I thought it might break through my chest. The call ended, and I heard Derek moving around the bedroom. I walked quickly to the kitchen, my mind racing. How long had this been going on? The woman looked comfortable, familiar with him. That little girl called him Daddy. I gripped the kitchen counter, forcing myself to breathe normally. Derek appeared moments later, smiling like nothing had happened. "Hey, Natalie, how was your day?" His voice was casual, warm even. I wanted to scream. Instead, I smiled back. "Fine, just making dinner." My voice sounded steady, which surprised me. Inside, everything was breaking apart, but something stopped me from confronting him right then. Maybe it was shock, or maybe some deeper instinct told me to wait, to learn more before I made my move. That night, I lay awake beside Derek while he slept peacefully. How could he sleep? How could he live with this secret? I stared at the ceiling, replaying that video call in my mind. The little girl's face, the woman's gentle voice, the way Derek had smiled at them. Around 3 in the morning, I slipped out of bed and went to his office. His laptop was password protected, but I knew Derek's passwords. He used variations of the same one for everything. I was right. The computer opened on my second try. My hands shook as I searched his email, his messages, his files. What I found was worse than I'd imagined. There were hundreds of messages to a woman named Olivia Carter, photos of the little girl at various ages, flight confirmations to Portland every few months, hotel bookings, even apartment lease documents with both their names. The timeline became clear as I read through 5 years of hidden messages. Derek had met Olivia at a work conference in Portland when I was going through my second round of fertility treatments. She got pregnant almost immediately. He'd been living a double life ever since, telling me his frequent business trips were for work. The company he worked for, Harrison Tech, did have a Portland office. That part wasn't a lie, but the trips weren't about business. They were about his other family. I found receipts for a park membership, preschool tuition, grocery deliveries to an apartment in Northwest Portland. He'd been supporting them financially while telling me we needed to budget carefully. While I worked overtime as a pediatric nurse to save for the fertility treatments he said we couldn't afford. The betrayal cut deeper than I thought possible. I didn't sleep at all that night. By morning, I'd made copies of everything. I uploaded documents to a secure cloud account Derek didn't know about. I photographed his messages. I documented every hotel booking, every flight, every payment to Olivia. Derek woke up at 6:30, completely unaware that his secret was no longer secret. "Morning," he said, kissing my forehead like he always did. I almost pulled away but stopped myself. "Morning, coffee." My voice stayed steady. "You're the best." He smiled, that same smile I'd fallen in love with 10 years ago. Now it looked like a mask hiding someone I didn't know. While he showered, I made breakfast like normal. My hands moved automatically, cracking eggs, toasting bread. My mind was somewhere else entirely, planning my next steps. I called in sick to work, something I rarely did. After Derek left for his office downtown, I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee and started researching. I found a family law attorney named Patricia Holmes with excellent reviews. Her website said she specialized in complex divorce cases involving hidden assets and infidelity. Perfect. I also opened a separate bank account at a different bank, one Derek couldn't access. Then I did something that surprised even me. I looked up Olivia Carter on social media. Her profiles were private, but her profile picture showed her holding Emma at what looked like a birthday party. She was pretty, younger than me by maybe 5 years. She had light brown hair and kind eyes. I wondered if she knew about me. Did she think Derek was divorced? Or did she know he had a wife in Seattle while she waited for him in Portland? Over the next week, I maintained my normal routine perfectly. I went to work, came home, made dinner, watched television with Derek. We talked about our days, made plans for the weekend, even laughed together. He had no idea I knew everything. Every time he smiled at me, I thought about him smiling at Emma and Olivia. Every time he said he loved me, I wondered if he said the same words to her. The hardest part was staying calm. My sister Amanda noticed something was wrong when we met for lunch on Thursday. "You look exhausted, Nat. Are you okay?" I almost told her everything. Instead, I said, "Just tired from work. We've been short-staffed." She squeezed my hand. "You work too hard. When's Derek's next trip? Maybe you should take a few days off, relax." "Next week, actually. He's going to Portland." The words tasted bitter. Amanda frowned slightly. "Again, he's there so often." I just nodded, unable to trust my voice. That night, Derek confirmed his Portland trip. "I leave Tuesday morning, back Friday night. The Harrison Tech Portland office needs help with their new system rollout." His lies came so easily. I nodded, pretending to believe him. "Will you have any free time? Portland's supposed to be beautiful this time of year." He shrugged. "Probably not. These trips are always packed with meetings." More lies. I knew exactly what his schedule would be. Mornings at the Harrison Tech office for appearances. Afternoons and evenings with Olivia and Emma at their apartment. Playing family with them while his real wife waited at home. After he went to bed, I emailed Patricia Holmes. "I need to discuss a divorce involving infidelity and a hidden second family. My husband has been supporting another woman and their child for 5 years. I have documentation of everything." Patricia Holmes responded within hours, and we met that Friday afternoon. Her office was in a tall building downtown with a view of Elliott Bay. She was maybe 50, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. I showed her everything I'd found. The messages, the photos, the financial records, the apartment lease. She studied each document carefully, making notes on her legal pad. "This is very thorough documentation, Natalie," she said finally. "You've done excellent work gathering this evidence. What happens next?" My voice was steadier than I felt. "We file for divorce, citing adultery. Washington is a no-fault state, but this level of deception and the hidden financial support will impact the settlement significantly. Does your husband know you're aware of the situation?" "No, he has no idea." "Good. Keep it that way for now. We need to secure your financial position first." Patricia explained the strategy over the next hour. First, we document all marital assets. Derek made a good salary as a senior systems analyst, and I made decent money as a nurse. We owned our house in the Fremont neighborhood, had retirement accounts, savings, and investments. "He's been funneling money to support his other family," Patricia said. "That's marital funds he used without your knowledge or consent. We'll be claiming that back." Second, we'd file for divorce with all the evidence attached. "I want you to be prepared, Natalie. This will be public and painful, but you have an extremely strong case." Third, and this was Patricia's suggestion, we'd wait until Derek was in Portland for his next trip. Serve him there. Let him explain to Olivia why sheriff's deputies are showing up at her apartment with divorce papers. I smiled for the first time in a week. I like that plan. The following Tuesday morning, Derek packed his suitcase like he'd done dozens of times before. "I'll miss you," he said, hugging me at the front door. Those words used to mean something. Now they were just noise. "Miss you too, safe flight." I watched his car disappear down the street, then called Patricia. "He just left." "Perfect. The papers are ready. I've arranged for service Thursday afternoon at the Portland apartment address. He'll be there, correct?" "He's always there Thursday afternoons." It's his day off from the pretend work schedule. My voice was cold now, the shock replaced by something harder. 2 hours later, I did something else. I called the Harrison Tech corporate office and asked for human resources. When someone answered, I said I needed to report an ethics violation by an employee. They transferred me to a senior HR director named Mr. Bradley, and I told him everything. Mr. Bradley listened without interrupting as I explained how Derek had been claiming business trips to Portland while actually visiting his second family. He's been falsifying expense reports, claiming meals and transportation costs as business expenses when they were personal. I have 5 years of documentation showing the trips matched his visits to his girlfriend and child, not actual business needs. I heard typing on his end. "Mrs. Wallace, these are serious allegations." Can you provide the documentation? I can email everything within the hour. After I hung up, I sent Mr. Bradley copies of Derek's messages to Olivia coordinating his visits. His expense reports from the company database I still had access to from when I'd helped him with paperwork, and the timeline showing the pattern. By Thursday afternoon, Derek wouldn't just be facing divorce papers. He'd be facing a corporate investigation that would likely end his career. Thursday afternoon arrived. I was working at Seattle Children's Hospital when my phone buzzed with a text from Patricia. Papers served 20 minutes ago. Your husband was at the apartment with the woman and child exactly as you predicted. Deputy confirmed service. I stepped into the break room, my hands shaking now that it was real. Another text came through. He's calling you, don't answer yet, let him panic. Derek's name flashed on my screen. The phone rang 4 times before going to voicemail. Then it rang again, and again. 5 calls in 10 minutes. I turned off my phone and went back to work. Let him wonder, let him scramble, let him try to figure out how his carefully constructed double life had just collapsed. That evening, when I finally turned my phone back on, there were 17 missed calls from Derek and a dozen text messages. Natalie, please call me. This is a mistake. We need to talk. More messages followed. I can explain everything. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I forwarded them all to Patricia. She replied immediately. Perfect. He's panicking. Don't engage. The more he texts, the more evidence we have of his awareness of wrongdoing. Derek kept trying all evening. The messages became more desperate. Please, Nat, just let me explain. It's not what you think. I love you. We can fix this. Don't do this to us. To us, like there was still an us. Like he hadn't spent 5 years building a life with someone else while I believed every lie he told. Around 10 that night, my phone rang again. This time it wasn't Derek. It was a number with a Portland area code. I hesitated, then answered. Hello? Is this Natalie Wallace? A woman's voice, shaky and upset. Yes. This is Olivia Carter. I think we need to talk. My first instinct was to hang up. Why would I talk to the woman who'd been sleeping with my husband for 5 years? But something in her voice stopped me. She sounded as devastated as I felt. What do you want? My words came out harsh. I need you to know something. I didn't know Derek was married. Silence stretched between us. What? He told me he was divorced, that it happened before we met. He showed me papers, said you'd gotten the house in the settlement, that he moved to Portland for a fresh start. I believed him. I sat down hard on the couch. He told you we were divorced. Yes, the whole time. I had no idea you existed, not as his wife. He said his ex-wife lived in Seattle with their daughter from the marriage, that you all were on good terms, but he needed distance. I don't have a daughter. My voice cracked. I spent years trying to get pregnant while he was with you. Olivia started crying. Oh God, I'm so sorry. I would never have done this if I'd known he was married. I'm not that kind of person. She broke down completely. I listened to her sob through the phone, feeling a strange mix of anger and pity. She'd been lied to as well, just differently. How did you find out? I asked finally. The divorce papers. When the deputy served them, I read everything. The filing says you've been married for 8 years. I've been with Derek for 5. The timeline made it clear he was with both of us. She paused. Collecting herself, he's been lying to both of us. Yes. The word was simple, but it contained so much pain. I need you to know something else, Olivia said, her voice steadier now. Derek doesn't pay for anything here, not the apartment, not Emma's preschool, nothing. I support us. He visits when he can, but financially I handle everything. I'm a teacher. I make it work. That information hit me like a physical blow. But I found records, payments, deposits, receipts. Those were gifts, Olivia explained. Birthday presents for Emma, helping with groceries sometimes. But he's not supporting us like a father should. I thought it was because of his divorce settlement that you'd gotten most of his money. That's what he told me. Derek had played us both. He'd lied to me about supporting a second family, making me think we were broke while he sent money to Portland. But he'd also lied to Olivia, making her think he was financially struggling because of me. The truth was somewhere in between. He'd been spending marital money on his double life, but not enough to actually support his second family properly. He'd been keeping both of us on a budget so he could maintain his comfortable lifestyle. Where is Derek now? I asked. He left after the deputy came, said he needed to fix this. Honestly, I don't want him back here. After I hung up with Olivia, I sat in the silence of my house, our house. The home Derek and I had bought together 5 years ago, excited about starting our life together, back when I still believed in us. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Amanda. Nat, Derek just showed up at my apartment. He's banging on the door demanding to know where you are. What's going on? I called her immediately. Don't let him in. I filed for divorce. He was served today in Portland. Portland. Why was he served there? Amanda's voice was confused. Because that's where his other family lives, his girlfriend and their 4-year-old daughter. The silence on the other end lasted several seconds. His what? I found out last week. He's been living a double life for 5 years. I have proof of everything. Amanda's voice turned ice cold. I'm calling the police if he doesn't leave. You stay wherever you are, don't come home tonight. I ended up staying at Amanda's apartment after Derek finally left. She made tea while I explained everything. The video call I'd overheard, the documents I'd found, the evidence I'd gathered, the strategic plan Patricia and I had developed. Amanda listened to it all, her expression moving from shock to anger to something like pride. You did all of this without telling anyone. I needed to be sure. I needed to have everything ready before he knew I knew. That's actually brilliant, Nat. Most people would have confronted him immediately and given him time to hide assets or destroy evidence. She squeezed my hand. I'm sorry this happened to you, but I'm proud of how you handled it. The next morning, I received an email from Mr. Bradley at Harrison Tech. The company had completed a preliminary review of Derek's expense reports and travel records. They'd found significant discrepancies between his claimed business activities and actual work performed. Derek had been placed on immediate administrative leave, pending a full investigation. Friday afternoon, Patricia called with an update. Your husband's attorney reached out. They want to negotiate a settlement. Already? They know the evidence is overwhelming. Derek's facing not just the divorce but potential criminal charges for expense fraud. His attorney is trying to minimize the damage. What are they offering? Essentially everything you asked for. The house, 70% of joint assets, his retirement account. He keeps his personal belongings and his car. They're hoping you won't pursue charges related to the expense fraud. I thought about it. What do you recommend? I think we can do better. He used marital funds for his affair. He lied about fertility treatments we couldn't afford while spending money on his other family. We should ask for 80% of joint assets and reimbursement for all fertility treatment costs you paid from your personal accounts. Do it. I felt calm now, clearer than I'd felt in weeks. The following week brought more developments. Harrison Tech's investigation concluded that Derek had falsified expense reports totaling over $40,000 across 5 years. They terminated his employment and referred the matter to law enforcement. Derek's attorney contacted Patricia again with a revised settlement offer that met all our demands. He was desperate to avoid criminal prosecution. Meanwhile, I'd been talking regularly with Olivia. Our conversations were strange at first, 2 women connected by the same man's betrayal. But we found common ground in our anger and our determination not to let Derek's lies define us. I'm moving back to California, Olivia told me during one call. My parents live there. Emma and I need a fresh start, somewhere Derek isn't part of the daily landscape. I understand that. I want you to know that I'm pursuing child support. Derek is Emma's father, and he needs to take financial responsibility for her, regardless of his other problems. I supported Olivia's decision completely. Emma deserved support from her father, even if Derek had been a terrible husband and partner. The divorce moved quickly after Derek accepted the settlement terms. We'd been separated for less than 2 months when I signed the final papers in Patricia's office. Derek signed remotely, not wanting to face me. How do you feel? Patricia asked as I reviewed the final document. Free, I said honestly, and angry still, but mostly free. The house was mine. 80% of our joint savings and investments were mine. Derek was required to reimburse me $12,000 for fertility treatments I'd paid for from my personal accounts. He left the marriage with his car, his personal belongings, and a mountain of legal and financial problems. The criminal investigation into his expense fraud was ongoing. His career in tech was essentially over. No company would hire someone who'd falsified expense reports for 5 years. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, I was starting to feel like myself again. I'd redecorated the house, removing traces of Derek and making it truly mine. I'd started therapy to process the betrayal and the grief for the marriage I'd thought I had. Work became a source of joy again rather than an escape. I threw myself into caring for my young patients, finding purpose in helping families through difficult times. Amanda visited often, helping me adjust to single life. You seem different, she observed one evening over dinner. Stronger, maybe. I feel different. Not healed yet, but stronger, yes. Like I survived something I didn't think I could survive. You did more than survive. You took control of a terrible situation and came out ahead. She raised her glass. To new beginnings. To new beginnings, I echoed. My phone buzzed with a message from Olivia. She and Emma had settled into their new life in California. She'd sent a photo of Emma at the beach, building sandcastles, looking happy and carefree. 6 months after discovering Derek's secret life, I received a letter from him. Patricia had advised me not to respond to any direct contact, but I opened it anyway. The letter was short. He apologized for the pain he'd caused. He claimed he never meant to hurt me. He said he'd been confused and made terrible choices. He hoped someday I could forgive him. I read it twice, then put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I would forgive Derek, not for him, but for myself. But that day wasn't today. Today I was focused on building the life I wanted. I'd started volunteering with a support group for women going through divorce. Sharing my story helped others feel less alone, and their stories reminded me I wasn't alone either. I'd also started dating again, nothing serious yet, but it felt good to remember I was still young, still capable of connection. The betrayal hadn't broken me. If anything, it had shown me my own strength. A year after overhearing that video call, I stood in my living room, now completely transformed from the space Derek and I had shared. New furniture, new paint, new energy. Amanda was there, along with a few close friends, celebrating my 36th birthday. As I looked around at the people who'd supported me through the worst time of my life, I felt genuinely happy. Derek had tried to build a secret life, thinking he could have everything without consequences. Instead, he'd lost everything. His marriage, his career, his reputation, even his relationship with Olivia and Emma. Meanwhile, I'd taken control of my own life. I'd protected myself financially. I'd found strength I didn't know I had. I'd built a support network of women who understood. The house he'd paid for during our marriage was mine. The future I'd been afraid of was actually full of possibilities. "What are you thinking about?" Amanda asked, handing me a glass of wine. I smiled. Just that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you leads to the best thing you do for yourself.